Hello, I'm Anastasia. Lavrina. Welcome to Context. Israel has resumed airstrikes on Gaza after the collapse of a ceasefire, citing Hamas' refusal to release hostages. The strikes targeted Hamas positions, with Gaza's health ministry reporting 326 casualties, though figures remain unverified. The Israel Defense Forces stated mid-level Hamas commanders were among those targeted. Alongside military action, Israel has cut off electricity, affecting water supplies and hospitals, forcing some facilities to shut down. The ceasefire, in place since January, had allowed a hostages-prisoner exchange, but further negotiations stalled. Israeli officials blamed Hamas for rejecting mediation efforts, while Hamas has not responded. The White House confirmed prior discussions with Israel, stating Hamas' actions left few alternatives. The renewed hostilities and blockade have worsened Gaza's humanitarian crisis, with international calls for a cessation of violence and humanitarian corridors. To break down the latest developments, I'm joined now by Dimitri Diliani, spokesperson for the Palestinian Fatah's Reformist Democratic Party, and Mauricio Harsh from the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. Gentlemen, we're welcome to our program.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our discussion. So, Mauricio, with Israel resuming airstrikes and cutting off electricity, how can Gaza's civilian population survive under such extreme conditions?
I think it's really very simple. What they need to do is to persuade the genocidal terrorists who launched the October 7 massacre to release immediately all of the remaining 59 hostages that they are holding and to unconditionally surrender. This is a terrorist organization that is holding Gaza by force under complete duress, denying them any rights, denying them any ability to really rehabilitate the war-torn area. And what they need to do is immediately surrender.
Dimitri, if Hamas truly seeks a ceasefire, why hasn't it released more hostages to encourage diplomatic progress?
Well, I have to comment first on your report because it looks like somebody from Netanyahu's office actually wrote it. Because you mentioned many of the lies that the state of Israel spreads to cover for its genocide that's committing against our people. So far, Israel has slaughtered over 48,000 Palestinian people, injured over 100,000 people, has put Gaza even into further suffocating siege that has been called by the United Nations, by the International Criminal Court of Justice, by the international community, by humanitarian agencies as a genocide. And you just simply fail to even come close to that notion. This morning, you fail to mention that Israel has slaughtered over 400 people, including 130 children. That was missing from your report. You are missing from your report that Israel has declared officially that they have no interest in continuing with the ceasefire agreement. So you have the state of Israel admitting its intent to continue with the genocide, and you simply, in your report, just ignore that. And you bring in somebody who just speaks so simply as we are listening to Nazi rhetoric. When did you ever hear the Nazis blaming themselves for the Holocaust? Nazis blamed the Jews for the Holocaust, just like the gentleman you have on a guest who is blaming the Palestinian kids who are being slaughtered. Over 18,000 have been killed in the past 17 months for the October 7th, as if October 7th came out of nowhere and we were living in peace. We have been living under military occupation, systematic apartheid, and a continuous ethnic cleansing, genocidal parts, including the genocide that took place in Gaza starting October 23rd and hasn't ended till then. This is a continuation of the genocide because of political necessity. The Israeli Prime Minister is in a political pickle. He has a budget that cannot pass with the current coalition. He needs to expand the coalition. Israeli political parties who are so fascist, so genocidal, and so clear about it
So
they are claiming
let's
that they
talk a
will
bit
not
more about
join or
the
rejoin
international
or stay with the
community.
coalition unless
The international community and their reaction,
Israel
what we have seen there.
with the resumption of the military aspect of the ongoing genocide.
So, Mauricio,
and this is exactly what the state of Israel,
let's talk more
Netanyahu
about
did
what is
in
happening
order to
today.
guarantee
Mauricio, why does the international community continue to call for negotiations when Israel's blockade and military actions seem to undermine any path to peace? How will be your response to that?
I think it's very, very simple. When you listen to people like Mr. Dilani, who appears to have really learned the playbook of Dr. Joseph Goebbels, really to its utmost extent, then you understand where we are. Israel has been very, very clear from the start and all the way through. Our fight is with Hamas. Our fight is with the terrorists. Unfortunately, those terrorists have turned Gaza into a terrorist haven. They've used hospitals, schools, kindergartens, every single place that they could use, civilian installations in order, including UN installations, to hide their terror infrastructure. As the world saw, they even had a server farm underneath the UNRWA headquarters in the Gaza Strip. Mr. Dilani propagates those same terror statistics that Hamas is throwing around the world. 48,000 people killed. He doesn't say at all how many of them were terrorists. Israel says that at least 22,000 of them were terrorists. At least that amount of terrorists has been killed. This is unprecedented in urban warfare in any situation, let alone in the Gaza Strip. Israel agreed I must say, with a hard heart, that we would release hundreds and thousands of violent, massacred terrorists who had been imprisoned after a trial. People had blown up buses and restaurants and hospitals and hotels and everything, that they would be released so that we could secure the release of our hostages. The terrorists were then given the opportunity to continue on and to release more of the hostages in return for continuing the ceasefire. They have refused. And the international community is unfortunately showing its moral depravity when it says that Israel must capitulate and we must allow these genocidal terrorists to continue holding our citizens in their terror dungeons and not fight back. This won't happen.
Dimitri, with Hamas refusing multiple mediation offers, how can Israel be expected to maintain a ceasefire without security guarantees?
Such sentiment is only believed by somebody who's been living under a rock for the past 2 years. Everybody knows, including the Israeli public, and everybody that hears.
Maybe you could just tell us how many Israeli soldiers there were in Gaza on the 6th of October.
Do not interrupt me, Goebbels.
You can't tell us that because you know that it just doesn't fit with your narrative. There was no Israeli soldiers in Gaza on the 6th of October. The terrorists simply attacked Israel, murdered, massacred, raped, beheaded, and they are now turning that depravity into a way of life.
So if he thinks he can shut me up like that, you are wrong. You're a good student of Goebbels, I know that. But
you cannot give me a simple answer to a simple question. How many Israeli soldiers were in Gaza?
Gentlemen, we have to.
You are such a disgrace to Judaism and to humanity itself because you are covering up for genocide. You didn't even show remorse for the slaughter of 130 children this morning by your government. Your government slaughtered just this morning 130 children. And you're talking about terrorism? You are a terrorist. Your government is terrorist. And you are a good student of Goebbels, but you're going to go down just like the Nazis went down in history in disgrace. You're nothing but war criminal. You do all your crimes based on your supremacy.
Maurice, I would like now you to respond to what is happening here, because we have to also understand the humanitarian situation there.
Bloodthirst campaign against our people.
Please, Dimitri.
We will expose you.
Dimitri, please. Now we have to listen to the opinion of Maurice, please.
The way forward is very, very clear. For the Gazan people who are not involved in terrorism to spew out these genocidal terrorists that they voted for, to ensure that all of the Israeli
Dimitri, we have to listen to the opinion of our expert first. Please, you will have a time to respond as well.
All of these people know where the hostages are being held. Prime Minister Netanyahu offered a $5 million reward for any Gazan who brought back an Israeli hostage. None of them, not one, was brought back. That is the unfortunate reality that the Gazan
You
population
hold
seems to be
10,000
Dimitri, please, you will have time to respond
the
to the
terrorists that
in
are
Israeli
ruling them with
jails.
such an iron
You
fist.
hold 10,000 Palestinian hostages, 10,000 Palestinian hostages that you don't have the decency to even mention.
Dimitri,
You are
please, we
holding
will come back to you. You will have a chance to
10,000
answer.
kidnapped Palestinians in your jails, and you don't have the decency to even call them hostages. This is how your supremacy drives you to become so unhuman to the point that it is disgusting. You are a disgusting society built on supremacy and genocidal thinking that dehumanizes our people day in, day out. You built your school systems, your army, your administration, your laws on dehumanizing my people, and you come in here and trying to act all as a victim. If you're a victim, you are fighting wars against the Palestinians.
Please, you have to come to the proper language. We have to give the floor for
more than the
Mauricio
48,000
to
already
say the
we know.
words, and then we will be back. Please, Mauricio.
The answer, like I said, is very, very simple. All Israel wants is to be able to live in peace alongside
While
all of our
occupying
neighbors.
our
We
Please,
want the
land.
Dimitri,
immediate
please, I kindly ask you, please.
You
Mauricio,
want the
interrupted me.
immediate
You didn't say
return
anything to shut
of-
him up, so please don't even try with me. I'm not going to listen to you.
we have the platform
We
for
want the
discussion.
immediate return of every single
You
one
stop
of the
that. You
hostages
stopped having
being
that right
held
when
by
you
these
Gentlemen,
interrupted
please.
me
genocidal
and you said
terrorists.
nothing.
And
We are live
unfortunately,
now,
what
and
we're
we have the
seeing now
platform for
exactly-
discussion. Please.
Well, you should have
What
thought
we're seeing
about
now
that
is
when he
exactly that
interrupted.
same
Because
Palestinian
just like
terrorism
your report
that
is
pushes that
biased,
same
you are
terror
killed.
narrative over and over again. They
Yeah,
know
you
that
are
they have no
repeating the
legs
same
to stand
Nazi
on.
narrative,
They
which
know
you
that
learned
they were
very
the ones
well.
who broke the ceasefire on the 6th
But
of
the
October.
difference is
They
that
know
the
they
Nazis-
massacred,
Dimitri, we have very
butchered,
limited
woke
time.
up from
babies,
the
Please.
people.
indiscriminately.
I kindly ask you to respect our viewers. Please, we have very limited time. Let our discussion
You
to
should have
continue.
thought of that.
Mauricio, please. We would like to listen your opinion, and then we'll be back to you, Dimitri. Please.
No, he interrupted me and you didn't stop him, so don't ask me to stop.
You
And I
both
told you, if you don't
interrupted each
stop him,
other,
I
but
will
this is a
interrupt him
platform
all the
for
way.
discussion.
And you didn't listen, so I'm going along.
I'm very sorry for interrupting you now, but now it's time for Mauricio to say his
Well, you should
words.
be sorry for
and then I will
interrupting me
give
as
you
well,
the
and
floor
you were
also
not.
to respond, please.
What you're being now is a victim of the same Palestinian terrorism that is pushing that terror narrative all the way. They have no real
You are
arguments to
killing our
make. They have no
children.
real
What-
basis to make. What they're supporting
You
is
don't even
Hamas,
have
a
the
genocidal
decency to
terrorist
admit that you
organization,
have just
for murdering
murdered 130
Jewish babies,
children this
women,
morning.
and children. They lack any
That you
basic
killed.
fundamental morals or adherence to basic truths. They unfortunately have just their narrative, which denies Israelis the right to
We
even
have
self-defense.
dead
It denies us the
children
right to
because
live
of your
on the 6th of
army, and
October.
we are
There were
not.
no Israeli soldiers
What are we
in
supposed
Gaza.
to be happy
what
about
started
it?
this war was the genocidal
It's
terrorists
you.
that
Occupation
Mr. Gilani
started
supports,
this war.
who attacked, who infiltrated Israel
Occupation,
and
military
murdered and beheaded
occupation.
people,
You are a
massacring
rogue
and murdering.
I'm very sorry for
They're then
interrupting
by
you,
an
Dimitri. You will have a
international
in that
chance.
fugitive
situation.
called Benjamin Netanyahu.
Firing
This is a
rockets
spokesperson
indiscriminately
for rogue
at
state
Israel's
headed
civilian
by an
population,
international
and then
fugitive
hiding
called
behind
Benjamin
the pictures
Netanyahu,
of
coming out
what
here
they
and
claim
trying to call the
be
victims
civilians.
of their
It is
terrorism, of their
simply a
genocide,
disgrace that
as
that type of
terrorists.
narrative can be carried on and perpetuated and seen as almost as a reasonable argument by someone who
Our
merely
narrative is
supports
the
the
truth,
genocide
backed by
against
the
the Jewish
international
people.
community.
It won't be tolerated. And Mr. Dilani can shout as much as he wants. The truth will remain clear. Israel
The
will
truth
defend
is
itself.
that Palestine
Israel
will be
was
free
willing
no
to
matter what
extend
you
the
think.
ceasefire, and yet Hamas rejected that opportunity in return for continuing to
No,
hold
you
the
did.
59
What are you
hostages
lying?
and
You're
not
lying
releasing
as
them.
a
Dimitri,
thief. You
That
are
is
please,
the
I'm
lying.
kindly
simple
asking
reality.
you
You're
to
a
stop
shameless
interrupting
liar.
with all due respect
You
to our
are
viewers.
a shameless liar. You know that your own prime minister said that he doesn't want to go through with the second phase. You know that your finance minister already stated that if Israel goes through the second phase of ceasefire, he's withdrawing from the government. So stop lying. We have your government official admitting that they have no interest in ceasefire. So who you lying for? You are even not even adhering to what your prime minister says. You are carrying your lies way above and
Unfortunately, your
beyond.
mindless
This is something
hatred
that
is allowing
Goebbels
you
didn't even
to
do.
invent statements
Goebbels didn't even do
don't
that.
exist.
You
Dimitri,
have
we'll
Howard
listen to your
Schwartz,
opinion.
Adnan,
Dimitri,
your
we'll listen
teacher.
to your opinion. It's necessary now to give the floor to both of you to express your willingness, please.
You're not.
Therefore,
You're not.
we give you the floor, and please, with all due
No,
respect
and
to
he
our
interrupted,
viewers.
and you did nothing about it.
Mauricio, please, we have very limited of time. Therefore, I will have final question to both of you. But please, with all due respect to both of you, please do speak one by one. So, Mauricio, please, about the future, if it happens at the moment, how do you see the future development? If Hamas denies any time of cooperation, any possibilities, and if Israel is not willing to continue negotiations, what is the future of the region, what we may face in near days?
Continue on with its efforts to secure the release of the hostages taken by the genocidal terrorists on October 7th. We've shown our willingness time after time, even to release mass murderers in order to secure that position. We have allowed Hamas to regroup, rearm, and really build back its terrorist force so that we can secure the release of our hostages. Had Hamas agreed to release the remaining hostages, it is very, very possible that the ceasefire could have continued on for months, if not further than that. Unfortunately, the terrorists know that they are not interested in releasing the hostages. They don't care about the lives of the Gazan civilians. They're willing to use them and abuse them because they have no value in their eyes. We, Israel, place more value on the lives of the Palestinians than Hamas places on the lives of the Palestinians. We are not interested in harming them. We are interested in securing the release of our hostages and to then continue to live in peace with our neighbors. This is something, unfortunately, that the Palestinian terrorists aren't willing to do. They know that the terrorists that are holding all of the hostages are secure in the knowledge that they are surrounded by their supporters that haven't, as I said before, Prime Minister Netanyahu offered a $5 million reward and safe passage for any Gazan that would bring back and release any of the hostages. Not one Gazan took up on that offer. They are not willing to release the hostages. They want to fight until Israel is destroyed. That is their goal. That is not our goal.
Well, and Dimitri, now it's your turn. Please give us a short remark. You would like to answer the same question. What is the future of the region if the same continues?
Well, I'll tell you, you are speaking on the other side to a man who was a military prosecutor. He put thousands of innocent Palestinian people in jail for a long time in a manifestation of his sick, supremacist, dehumanizing ideology. And I want to note that so the viewers would see where that is coming from, as opposed to me, who is a non-violent peace activist, known all my life. This is the difference between us as people. Two, there was a process of negotiated ceasefire, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We went through phase 1. Israel declared that they will not go through phase 2 for internal political reasons, because the government coalition will collapse if Netanyahu went through with phase 2. In order for Netanyahu to save his seat, decided to stop negotiating and came up with whatever crazy proposals outside the scope of the agreement, already signed agreement, and found a way to start the bombing of innocent people, killing 500 people, 130 of them children only this morning. And in return for that, he secured the return of the terrorist, the convicted terrorist, became later National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. He secured his return to the government only this morning. So it's a great deal for Netanyahu. He kills 500 people, 130 of them are children, in return for the return of Ben-Gvir to the government. And this has just happened. Anybody who can just go back and read the sequence of events can see clearly and read the statements. You have ministers in the Israeli government saying that they will not stay in the government until the killing of the Palestinian people goes back into effect and according to schedule. And the genocidal intent is nothing to hide. That's why Israel has a genocide case in the ICC. That's why all humanitarian organizations around the world call this a genocide. That's why the state of Israel is a rogue state headed by an internationally wanted fugitive, Benjamin Netanyahu. This person is trying to defend the genocide committed by a government headed by an international fugitive. And you come in and telling me I'll have to talk on equal humanitarian or humanitarian grounds as this person that has contributed
We have to
the
respect
misery
our
and the war
viewers.
crimes
We have to
of the state
respect
of
the
Israel.
viewers. That's
This
why
is
we
a war
have to
criminal,
use the
and he
proper
should be
languages to
also prosecuted
explain
by
the
the
situation.
international court
Our
system.
viewers
And I'll
should
make
understand
sure
what is
somebody will
happening
do
in the
something
region
about it.
first.
I'll make sure I have
Our viewers should understand the situation on the ground, as we are far away from the region itself. That's why we're giving the floor to both of you to express your vision of the situation. We are not going to fight with you. We are not going to argue with you. But this is the right platform where you can express your willingness about the future of the region, as in the World International Organization and different actors are trying to bring the peace to the region of the Middle East, understanding that what is happening there at the moment, it's not right. People are dying, unfortunately, since the beginning of the escalation there. And the ceasefire was welcomed by many world actors. Today, when we see the escalation and the violation of the ceasefire, it cannot benefit everyone. That's why we really hope the situation will be changed. We really hope that the situation will be changed. But as for today, as tensions escalate, the situation remains dire. Airstrikes, blockades, and stalled negotiations continue to fuel uncertainty, with civilians fearing the brunt of the crisis.
How could you sleep at night defending child killers?
We do not know will diplomacy prevail, or are both sides locked in an endless cycle of retaliation. But the world watches as the conflict unfolds. Dear experts, unfortunately, we are running out of time. Thank you so much for joining our discussion, and I do value our viewers stay with us all of this period. Thank you very much for joining us on Context. I would like to remind that my name is Anastasia Lavrina, and see you next time.